So after many, many weeks of build-up, the Uncle Howdy character has finally debuted in WWE. And yes, I know that we saw Uncle Howdy during the final run with The Fiend, specifically of note at the Royal Rumble when he did an elbow drop onto LA Knight during the Mountain Dew match. What was it called? Like Pitch Black? Something like that. Well, after that, Bray Wyatt disappeared off television. We didn't know what was going on. There were rumors. Found out that the dude was sick later on, and he would unfortunately pass away. After seeing the Wyatt family or the Bray Wyatt documentary, the Wyndham Rotunda documentary, there was that post-credit scene about Uncle Howdy not being done yet, and WWE keeping Bray Wyatt's friends and family employed is a wonderful thing. And now we have this Uncle Howdy, this new era, like a new generation of the Uncle Howdy character. So, first of all, the presentation was very nice. It really resembled the Fiend return from 2022. It was actually very, very similar. If you remember, it was Extreme Rules 2022. That was when we saw the Bray Wyatt Fiend return with a brand new type of character, a brand new gimmick, and there was that slow build up. And to be honest, it kind of got derailed. I was super into like the White Rabbit stuff and the build up. It was really cool. But then the story, I think, went a tiny, tiny bit too slow. Didn't really evolve the way that I would have wanted it to. The issue here, I mean, there's a lot of similarities in the viral buildup with the QR codes, and that's always fun to do stuff like that to get people into stuff. But the issue here is a couple of things that I have concerns with, and that is with Bray Wyatt not being around anymore, he's no longer with us. You know, he was the creative force behind this. Did he leave behind a bunch of notes? We know from the documentary that he had more ideas. We know he had another Fiend costume coming, so where's that going? And what was the original plan for the Wyatt Six? Was it supposed to be these guys? So after the finish of the main event, when Jey Uso won, I thought he'd be the one getting attacked, but that's not what happened. Instead, the lights go out in a very similar way to Bray Wyatt's debut in 2022 or return, and then we see that mysterious door, the same one from before. And little by little, people start stepping out of it. First, it's what looks like a female figure crawling. I'm pretty sure that's Nikki Cross, and I'm glad to see her back finally, if that is her. It was not Alexa Bliss, because the figure was way more thick. Alexa Bliss is a very, very tiny, petite girl, whereas Nikki Cross is a bit thicker, you know, and it's definitely, I'm pretty sure it's her. And followed by what looks to be the yellow or the gray rabbit, which it could be Eric Rowan, but I can't tell. If it is Eric Rowan, he's not wearing the same mask. There was another guy who may have been Joe Gacy, and then of course there's Uncle Howdy. Now, one of them may also have been Dexter Loomis. The reason why I say may also have been is that I'm fairly certain that these guys were there, but they haven't been announced yet, and we haven't seen them under the mask yet. Like, the thing about these characters coming in is that as of right now, we don't really know what the story is. What's their goal? Who do they want to beat up? Like, what is the mission of Uncle Howdy, right? Now, we did see at the very end Uncle Howdy in a very good, elaborate, creepy costume. Like, it was well done in the sense that I could actually see little kids getting creeped out by this. And I remember when I was a little kid, a lot of the kids at school would talk about Papa Shango. This would be in the early 90s. And how Papa Shango had like the weird smoke coming out of the that skull like lantern thing. And he had put voodoo curses on wrestlers like the Ultimate Warrior. And even being a kid and even knowing that it's fake, knowing that it's all predetermined and entertainment, it's still very captivating, you know, things like that. And I'm a big horror movie fan, so concepts and ideas borrowed from horror movies, which Bray Wyatt did a ton of. I mean, a ton. You know, I'm not against that at all. Sometimes it can be a little goofy. I think it depends on how it's produced. I know a lot of people who are more smart marky work rate fans don't like that kind of stuff. It's almost like too much gaga and not enough in ring. but I also feel like it's good to have a balance. And the thing about this Uncle Howdy character is the presentation, the costumes, everything about this character is different from everything going on in WWE right now. Everything about this character, it has its own unique presentation. We haven't heard him talk yet or what the story is, but just the overall look is very different. And as I mentioned, legitimately creepy. I could see kids getting creeped out. And I know a lot of little kids, 3, 4, 5 years old, that watch wrestling. Some parents might not want them to see this. I mean, it's kind of up to them. It wasn't like gory or inappropriate or anything like that, but it was definitely like just creepy the way the costumes looked. The thing is, I'm curious about how they're going to tie this into what Bray had originally planned, and if they're going to actually try to make it tie into where we were at. In other words, to try and tie it into what stories we were developing with these characters prior to Bray getting sick. I know that one of the things that I remember is that they were going to book Bray Wyatt against Bobby Lashley, or they did book it for WrestleMania 39, and that's when Bray got sick. And, you know, this was probably the only time I can think of during the Triple H era. Maybe not the only time, because I feel like there's one other time, but this is one of the few times where a storyline was just dropped. Like, and there's a reason why. I mean, the guy got legitimately sick. It wasn't an angle. But usually they figure out a way to write somebody off of TV. I mean, look at Ricochet. He got written off of TV, you know, very similar to how TV shows would do it. Just lay the guy out. We may never see him again. But with this Uncle Howdy, are they going to just ignore everything? Will they address Bray Wyatt? Will they address The Fiend as being a character to them? Like, are they going to talk about how the Fiend went on to the nether realm? There's a lot of ways they can take this, you know. But obviously, since the Undertaker's retirement, wrestling has been looking for characters kind of like that. Aleister Black sort of had a little bit of that going, but Bray Wyatt was really the mastermind as far as being the guy to pick up where the Undertaker left off. I was in the building. During Raw 30 last year when Undertaker and Bray Wyatt had that confrontation and Taker whispered something in Bray Wyatt's ear. Like, he was the guy to go, and now I guess that's been passed down to Bo, a.k.a. Uncle Howdy. But the big story about the layout was that there were a bunch of people in the back that were laid out. Now, I'm not sure how many of them were Triple H or how many of them were just staff members that we know, but there were people back there in the gorilla position that were completely laid out, including Chad Gable. You can see Chad Gable clearly, so I don't know if that means he'll be out of his match next week or what they're planning to do, but Chad Gable had a very bad wound on his head that obviously it was done with makeup, but it looked like he got shot in the head, man. It was serious. I mean, obviously he wasn't. Maybe he got bonked with that sledgehammer, but he was the one guy that we saw there of all the dudes being laid out. So clearly this new Wyatt family, this new Uncle Howdy family is clearly targeting people. Now, could it be baby faces and heels? They just want to take anybody out? Do they have a vendetta against Chad Gable himself? There were other bodies there, but I could not tell who they were. If you know who they were, leave me a comment down below. Maybe I'll go back and watch the footage again so I can find those faces because I am curious. Anyways, week 1 was okay, but how do they follow it up? They cannot take their time like before. I mean, they should take their time. I'm not saying they shouldn't, but they need to really move through the story and give us some character motivations so that we can really become excited for it. So, what did you think about this? Let me know in the comments down below. Take care.